Complex roof layout. In the previous video, we talked about the layout of a hip roof. We learned the concepts of understanding the plan and the elevation views of a roof. In this video, we're going to show how to lay out a eyebrow dormer. Although this is a complex shape, we're going to apply some of the same rules for this roof as we would for any roof. In the following section, I'm going to use some CAD software to generate the construction lines, but this could be done on graph paper, and in the field we would use a full-scale pattern that would be generated on the plywood floor using chalk lines and a tape measure. The first step to generate the eyebrow dormer is to get the front elevation. The size and the curvature of the eyebrow is not important, provided that both halves are symmetrical. Most eyebrows consist of two circles that intersect, creating an S-curve. The S-curve is then stretched to create the appropriate shape. Once we have our shape, the next thing we want to do is we want to divide half of it into equal parts. 12 is a good number, but the more number of parts, the more accurate your drawing will get. So in this case, I'm going to go and divide it into 12 parts. So we're starting on the outside edge of the curve and going up to the center. This will help us in our generation. Then we're going to take horizontal lines from these points and generate them at a 90-degree angle. This is now going to create our first story pole, and it will help with our layout. So these divisions help us in our two parts of our elevation. Our horizontal elevation, which is running across the face of the piece here, this gives us the distance that it will move from left to right. The generated 90-degree line will give us the actual height of the eyebrow dormer and whereabouts each line will cross at a height distance. With the height story pole generated, we're now going to go and need to apply this to the slope of the roof. In order to do that, I create a triangle with the roof slope, and then I apply the roof slope to the generated lines, and I mark their intersection with a little tick mark on the actual slope of the roof. This gives us our third story pole. We now take that third story pole and copy it and put it at a 90-degree angle to the main roof line. And this gives us the generation of the curvature of the plywood that will follow the roof line. So this on the right is the story pole from the angled elevation. These are our lines extending up from the front elevation, and between the two of them, it generates this long stretch curve, which will be placed on the roof line, and that will give us where our rafter tails will finish on the actual roof line. So here you can see the plywood on the roof. If you notice, it follows that generated curve. You also will notice there's a kind of line in the center because what we did was we did half the roof and then mirrored the other half. When generating the face cut of the rafters for this roof, it's important to know whether the face of the eyebrow dormer is plumb or is on an angle. That will be determined by the blueprint or your desire. But in this case, we've decided to make it plumb. The plumb angle will be a 90-degree cut. Because the rafters die into the roof line at 90 degrees to the face of the eyebrow dormer, the back cut would be the same as the hypotenuse cut of the slope of the roof. The number and the spacing of the rafters is not important, provided they have adequate support for the roof structure and make sure that the shape is followed with the plywood that's bent around it. This concludes the complex roof layout tutorial. Thanks for watching.